Hello, this is Solomon Mars. I wanted to talk about digital comics, I guess. Comics in general, and not really the past, present, and future, but the past, present, and future. Um, so I myself I'm a comic book artist. I consider myself just a comic book artist. Um, it doesn't really matter what format that I'm doing them in. In the past I've done physical printing, self-publishing, and I publish my stuff online and let people read it that way. And um, with tablets now, people can also read my stuff on tablets, and that's pretty awesome. But the problem, well, I shouldn't say problem, but lately, recently, in the last couple of months, I've been running around in a couple of forums talking to other comics artists that also work online and have digital downloads of their books. And we've been discussing a lot of stuff, and it eventually led me to Mark Waid's website, markwaid.com, because he's been stirring up a lot of attention over the last few months. And then about a month ago, while I was there, he was slowly trickling out information that he was going to make an announcement. And the announcement was that he was going to have what became Thrillbent, which is his online digital only product product line. They are comics that are purely digital. I don't believe that they're intended for print, and people can download them and read them, and or just read them online. And initially, a lot of people were really excited. There was a lot of hype around it, and everyone was just waiting for something amazing. And it was because he was a part of a project with Marvel where they did this a digital only comic, and it went over really well from what I hear. I saw it, but I didn't sit and read it myself, so I won't even talk about it too much. But I think a lot of people were expecting something. I honestly, I don't know what they were expecting, because when Thrillbent went live and the comics were there, I mean, honestly, there were two comics on the site. That's it. There were two comics on the site. I don't know if people were expecting um, like a large staple of content, like a bunch of different artists and writers all together creating digital stuff, or what. Nobody quite spoke out about what it was that no one really stepped forward to say, oh well, I was expecting this. Personally, I was expecting exactly what was there. Um, Webcomics, essentially, in sort of a general panel to panel format, where I could read either one panel at a time, or a few panels at a time, as webcomics have always been. Um, and and that's the thing, the general response was kind of, it seemed like it was lackluster. I don't know really how people didn't react. Uh, I guess the way that some of the people that were really pushing for this to be a great thing. I don't know if well, let me see the best way that the people. It seems like people on the outside. I'm not sure how big they thought this was going to be. I'm not sure what they were expecting. Um, I'm really not sure what they were expecting. I wasn't expecting that much. I don't know if they were expecting something along the lines of motion comics or not. I don't know. But it can only do so much. I mean, we're talking about comics. And in order for it to stay comics, really, it has to kind of stay within a specific, a certain realm. It can only go so far before it stops being comics and starts being something else, like motion comics, which is really, it's sort of a de-evolved version of animation, kind of like really really limited animation. It's terrible if you ask me, but that's neither here nor there. But I'm not completely sure what people were expecting. I personally like what is there. I like his approach, um, and I hope to actually see him play around with um, frame to frame, ways to tell the story differently, in from a frame to frame transition. Now you have that possibility when a reader can only see a single frame at a time. You have more of an impact when you transition to the next frame, and it can really really catch them off guard. Versus you're a traditional comic book where you have you know 2 pages open and you can see every single panel on both of those pages. Your eye can accidentally slip down to the bottom of the other page, the second page, and you can completely ruin something for yourself, a surprise. But with a single frame format or something along that, you can really set it up for nice transitions and surprises. And I'm curious to see if he is going to embrace that a little bit more. And that's actually part of the advantage of this format. But it's just comics. It's just comics, and I'm not sure what people were expecting. And Mark Waid is, he's said a few things on his process blog and on Thrillbent.com in the blog there, where he's been talking about bells and whistles. Like he put out the second issue, and he was talking about it didn't have the bells and whistles that he wanted to, and he's also went on to say that maybe or maybe not, that he's not sure if that was a good thing, maybe or maybe not. I personally think it's a good thing for the bells and whistles to not be there, because there's a point when you can become too gimmicky. And it really depends on what kind of bells and whistles he's talking about. I mean, really, these comics don't need to be anything more than comics. The whole point for me was, it was about the convenience of being able to have like your entire collection in a single folder that can fit on on a hard drive, and only take up like maybe a few gigs. My entire my entire collection doesn't take up a lot of space in its digital form, and that's amazing to me, and I can take it with me wherever I want. I can take it with me wherever I want, my entire comics collection. And that's what I want. That's what I want to see. That's what I'm willing to embrace. That's what digital comics is to me. And also, probably the greatest part about it is, it's about the cost finally leveling out for the readers and also the producers of the comics. You don't have to worry about printing cost, and that's something I've always dealt with. From when I first started self-publishing in 1998 all the way up to really now. And it was part of the reason why I made the transition in 2009 to doing purely digital comics. Whereas before I kind of flip-flopped a little, and I tried it out and I didn't like it. It didn't have the same feel. And eventually I just said, well, let me do this. I figured out the new format, and I've kind of embraced it since. And I attempted to print my books recently. It's too expensive. It's too expensive. And I tried to drop the cost to the lowest price that they would allow, the printer would allow it to be dropped, which is the basic print cost, the amount it costs them to print it. And I don't even get it. I make literally a dime. I make a literal dime in profits off of every issue sold. And that does absolutely nothing for me as far as trying to sustain my a living, make a living off of my comics. And really the only way that I could make a living is through the digital realm, through having a readership of my digital comics and digital downloads. When the print costs are taken away, then really we're free to readjust our pricing, and we can honestly it frees up the distribution, the range, the limiting distribution, the limits of conventional distribution. Um, we can pretty much, it's free range. We can go wherever in the world we want because it's all online. It's all downloadable, and that's what it is for me. That's what's the most exciting for me, is the fact that it not only um, reduces the amount of space that your collection takes up, but also it brings the cost down to a reasonable price. We can all live within a reasonable price range. Um, Readers and creators, we no longer have to worry about printing costs, being a factor, additional factor in that cover price. Um, so yeah, that's my personal view of this whole thing and sort of the slight fallout from it. A couple of people, I've seen a few things here and there about, you know, it not, a lot of hype behind, Thrillbent and stuff. And it just, my thing is, I honestly, I just wonder what people were expecting and what it is that they want. I mean, what do you want from a digital comic? It can only be just that, a digital comic. I don't know.